What's up, friends? Today's episode is brought to you in part by soundgirls.org, working to provide a network for women and non-binary people working in the professional audio industry. Soundgirls provides an opportunity to meet and network with other industry professionals, creating a strong support network while simultaneously providing the tools, knowledge, and support to further your career. Head over to soundgirls.org and become a member today.
What's happening, roadies? This is Tiffany Hendren.
This is Grace Royce.
What's happening, roadies? This is Jeri Palumbo, and you're listening to Roadie Free Radio.
What's up, roadies? My name is Larry Milburn, and this is Roadie Free Radio, your VIP pass to meet and greet the stars behind the scenes of the music and film business. What is happening, my friends? Welcome to Roadie Free Radio. This is your host, Larry Milburn. I'm coming at you from a barn in Northwest Connecticut. This is episode 169. My guest this week is Madam Badass, Miss Jeri Palumbo. What's happening, guys? How are you all doing? Thank you for tuning in. We got any newbies in the house? Any newbies coming on the bus this week? Come on in the back lounge, man. We're going to take you for a good ride this week. All you returning roadies, hey, man, it's good to see you. Thanks for swinging by. Guys, how are we doing, man? I think a couple of things. Number one, spring is springing. That make any sense? You know what I'm saying? Spring is starting to pop out. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling the warm weather. The family and I went down our local lake situation the other day. Sunday it was. Had a beautiful time. Kicking it by the lake, by the water. We're out. We're out and about. We're not supposed to be out and about, I guess. I don't know. Social distancing. People are freaking out. That's the second thing. People are starting to freak out. They're getting out. They've had enough. Say, Fauci, listen, buddy, we've had enough. Trumpy, we've had enough of this. We're getting out. Now, I do believe that there are some measures, we got to keep in place. Just ease it on out there. But this gun-toting situation, going into Capitol buildings with your guns on, man, I don't know. I don't know about that. That leads to bad stuff. Speaking of bad stuff, we're celebrating the anniversary of the Kent State shootings, which is terrible, which as we know, led to the CSN&Y tune, Ohio. Bad stuff. Guns are bad, man. Guns, I'm going to say it. I'm not trying to, do a political thing right off the bat. Guns are bad. They harm people. Sure, they protect you, but, Hey, we're going to leave that right there. Okay, thanks for tuning into this show. Milburn's having an interesting run this weekend. And I'm sorry this episode's coming out a day late, but lots going on. But listen, I got to tell you about something. Do you guys remember my buddy Sahir Hanif, who was on the show a few episodes back? Actually, maybe about a year ago now. He is the man behind Masters of Maple Drums. Check out this situation. They have announced today the limited re-release of the acclaimed Trash Talk snare drum. The company is donating the proceeds to Music Cares and the Recording Academy COVID-19 Relief Fund. This is a special edition model. It features a seamless aluminum shell with 6 lugs for a timeless sound and dynamic tuning range. In addition, this drum features 2-tone plating, which is specific to the company's bespoke models. The special edition Trash Talk features the ever-popular Hot Lips badge. The company will produce 5 5x14, 5 6.5x14 versions of the drum. The snare will be available for purchase starting back on, it just was available yesterday. So 5/4, 5/4/2020, May 4th. It's already out. It's out right now. It just came out yesterday. You got to grab it exclusively. You can get this thing exclusively on the Masters of Maple Drums website. That's mdrums.com. mdrums.com. All right. Head over, get yourself one of these snare drums, man. They're amazing. You're going to be doing a good thing. They're giving their cash away to Music Cares and the Recording Academy COVID-19 Relief Fund to help some people out. Speaking of helping people out, did you guys catch my video that I put out last week about the Crew Nation Global Relief Fund for live touring pros? It's on my YouTube channel. It is on our Facebook thing. It made the rounds. Hopefully people donated. Hopefully we get some cash flowing into the fund. Like I said, Live Nation is matching all donations dollar for dollar up to 5 million buckaroonios. So give a little cash, you get a little cash. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, check out the video. I go into more detail. I might do another one for Music Cares, Gibson. You know, we're going to see. We're going to see what I got bandwidth for. I'm just trying to get as much out as I possibly can. But, you know, it's all good stuff, man. Another cool thing that has just popped up, my buddy Liz Shaw. Y'all know Liz Shaw from the podcast Recording Studio Rockstars. He's been on this show, and he's been on a panel with me at NAMM about podcasting. He's got a killer deal going on right now. He is hosting a live webinar on May 16th. Mark down your books, man. This is a good one. May 16th, he's got a live webinar with Grammy-winning engineer Craig Alvin, who worked on Casey Musgrave's The Golden Hour, which was Album of the Year 2020. This is going to be coming from Craig's mixing studio on May 16th, so he can teach his exact step-by-step mixing system. This is the same method he uses every time to mix award-winning records. He's going to reveal a detailed breakdown of his complete step-by-step mixing system, including a mix demo, followed by a full Q&A. All right, so if you take this class, man, if you do this thing, you're going to get to ask a Grammy-winning engineer questions about everything you want to know about recording and mixing. All right, and there's a killer bonus mini course that's available for now, free inside the course. And the first free video of that was called Vocal Comping Part 1, man. So check it out. Liz's deal is awesome. It's good stuff. So there's going to be a link for that in the show notes of this episode at the Roadie Free Radio website. Head over and check it out. Speaking of links and discounts, we are sponsored today by LensRentals.com. Lens Rentals is the largest online rental provider for photography, videography, and lighting equipment and accessories in the United States. Period. Done. They carry camera bodies and lenses in every format from every major manufacturer and all the audio, lighting, and support accessories needed to cover any kind of shoot, from a family holiday card to a commercial advertising job and any kind of live streaming situation you are looking to get into right now, because everybody's jumping on the live stream bandwagon. All equipment purchased is sold within 2 years, so customers are assured that their stock is always in like-new condition, and I'm telling you, they got killer customer service. If you use the code ROADIE15, that's all caps, ROADIE15, over at LensRentals.com, guess what? You get 15% off your order. Check this out. I've been thinking about getting a drone. I was looking at the little Mavic Mini combo. It's like $500. It's not that bad. But I thought, well, let's see if Lens Rentals has it. They've got it. I'm renting it. It's coming tomorrow. I'm going to check it out for 2 weeks. And it's just a great service, right? You can rent something, try it out, see if you like it. If you do, you can either purchase it from Lens Rentals. They have a keeper quote, it's called, where they discount the amount you've spent on your rental, take it off the sale price, and boom, you can just keep the thing, send the box back, and you're good to go. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going to check out this drone. If I like it, get in the drone world, cool. If I don't, hey, guess what? Send it back, and maybe I'll rent something else. We'll see. Use that code ROADIE15. Get yourself 15% off. All right, we're going to jump into it. We got Jeri Palumbo on the show today, my friends. Jeri Palumbo, broadcast and entertainment mixer. I met Jeri at the NAMM show in January here. We talk about that a bit. We talk about mentoring. Jeri's super cool. As soon as I saw her start speaking during this panel that Sound Girls hosted, I was like, you know what? She's on the show. Gotta have her on the show, man. She's done stuff with the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, NASCAR, the Super Bowl, World Series, Stanley Cups, the Oscars, and more. The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, and American Idol. She is a composition and orchestration major from Juilliard, and she comes from a long line of female instrumentalists. Super cool. We talk about keeping your head cool under all that pressure during a Super Bowl, during a big, NASCAR race and all that kind of stuff. And she's also got some pretty cool stuff coming up. She alludes to it. She's going to circle back in a couple weeks when she can talk about it. So anyway, a great episode, and I'm very excited. I do want to leave you with this. Also, we are sponsored finally today by ShowPro Beard Co. Started by live audio engineer Chris Wilson, the audio wizard on YouTube. He and his wife have created their very own unique formula of beard balm that not only performs well in terms of health and nourishment, it also provides the control, shine, and pleasant aroma that any bearded professional would appreciate. These are non-waxy, all-natural beard balms that will leave your beard soft, smooth, and nourished. Choose from a variety of natural-smelling scents like Home Sweet Home, Morning Wood, Through the Woods, Chain Motor Oil, and of course, Original Unscented. Use the code ROADIE to get 20% off your entire order over at ShowPro Beard Co. You gots to do it. I want to give a shout out right now real quick before we jump into Jeri's interview here to all the mamas out there, because we got Mother's Day fast approaching. I'll probably do another shout out next week, but to all the mamas, we wouldn't be here without you, clearly. And so this is a special shout out episode to all the women out there, whether you're a mom or not, who's doing it. You got your head down. You're working hard. We appreciate you. We love you. Here we go with Miss Jeri Palumbo.
Hit it. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie. Call yourself a roadie.
I'm good. How are you, Larry?
I'm doing okay.
It's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming, and it's only been since January that we met. So it's only been a few months ago, but trying to pull this off has been tough. You're super busy, and now we've got the COVID situation, and so it's, but we're here. We're here now, man.
We are here now.
How are you surviving?
I am doing well. I think when you and I first started talking about actually scheduling this, we had a contractor in the house. We had knocked a wall out. We were in the middle of doing some remodels in our bathroom. And right in the middle of all of this, they closed the NBA.
Right.
And we brought the contractor from the East Coast. He's a good friend of ours. He's working on some property back east, and we met him back there, and we brought him out, kind of a working vacay. And right in the middle of this project, we were like, we need to send you home, because you're not with your family, and things are crazy, and we don't know what's going on. They had just started to shut things down, and we got him out of here in the nick of time. So we have big open holes in our walls, and it's really been wonderful. It's like
I bet it has, Jeri.
It is what it is. It's like, okay, it's time to adjust what's important.
Well, it could take you back to your college days. You could hang some tapestries over those holes, right?
I found some old Beatle posters over there, so they might go up.
See?
Yeah.
Oh,
the
man.
wall, it's a pretty big hole, so it needs to be a big canvas.
I think, it's funny because Claire Murphy, who I also met at the same panel that you guys did together, when I asked her about being on the show, she was like, you know what, I'm definitely going to do it. I'm just crazy because we're in the middle of remodeling our house right now. The two of you. It's very funny.
Yeah,
but it was, winter-ish time. I guess it's the time to do it. Things are a little quiet. But
right.
So how are you faring out there? And where you're in California. Where are you, in LA?
Yeah, we're in LA. There are worse places to be. Right now, it's kind of interesting because I think, when you and I talked, I said I need to refocus some things. And I'm a big DIYer anyway, and a big upcycler. So one of the things that I started doing was I started regrowing food. So I buy everything that has a root to it. And if it's got a root to it, I stick it back in the garden, because we were getting ready to plant our garden, and, we didn't have any of our plants yet. I'm starting heirloom seeds really from my dad that I found that some of them are 40 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm really kind of getting really back to basics, and kind of enjoying not getting on flights and being in this type A grind, which for me was really hard to slow that down. It's just kind of part of who I am.
Yep.
But I've really enjoyed waking up when I wake up and walking the dog and having coffee and just taking it slow.
Yep.
You know, starting to ramp these things back up again, but really just going, hey, what is this thing all about? I mean, you know, we both got sick and then we were scared that we had it, and we were negative. We tested negative, but all the anxiety that everyone has, we're not the only ones, but all the anxiety that everyone has is real. And that anxiety can kind of take you down too.
Totally.
You know, but we're just grateful to be together and with our dog and in the same place on the same coast at the same time, you know, and whatever it takes, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, we're together and all of us just need to be safe and healthy. You know, it's hitting some of our friends and, you know.
Yep. I just got an email from a buddy of mine whose wife is sometimes my producing partner, depending on the gig that we do. And she's been incredibly sick, and she's young, and we hadn't talked in a while. She's been working on films. You know, we're both in our own world. Yeah. And then he sent out this email with an update, and I was like, oh my God. So it's getting people that you know. And
right.
I'm in the country in Connecticut. We have a lot of cases here. We have 22,000 now or something like that. And the next county over has a lot of the cases down in Stamford. So we're not too far. But you know, it's a new reality anyway.
Yeah.
I am very excited to have you on because I think you're the first. Well, I know you're the first. Let's see, Grace Royce.
Yeah, I love Grace.
Grace is awesome. She has some. I think she has some Super Bowl experience, if that's the person I'm thinking of. But you really cover the live sporting event thing. And more than anybody I've had on at this point. So, and I could tell by your personality during the live mentoring session with Sound Girls that you did, I was like, man, you are firing on all cylinders because you have to be. And it seems like a natural fit for you for that job that you do, in live sports and whatnot. So I'm super psyched to jump in and, tell me a little bit about that. What does it take? We'll go macro here before we dive into.
We're going to start at the big end and work our way down.
Yeah, we'll work our way down, man. What does it take to be in that arena, as it were?
Well, most people that are working on that show at some point have had a lot of experience doing NFL for years.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't just mean Super Bowl. I mean, you know, NFL, NBA, just in general, to be live sports, audio person. There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I think out of the gate, you have to be an adrenaline junkie. I say this all the time. You know, I jokingly say if you're an A1, you have to be a little bit masochistic. But I mean that jokingly because part of the joy and part of the pain of being in that position is pulling it off. Mm-hmm. First of all, you start out as a mixer, and as a mixer, you want everything to sound clean and to sound good. And every one of us have had disasters. I mean, it just comes with the territory that something horrible is going to happen, and you have to figure out how you dust yourself off and keep going because it's enough to make you not want to do it. But I think really the kind of personality that sits in the seat as an A1 on those kind of shows or in any of the positions on that show is you can't let the stress rattle you. You know, there's a lot of people on the front bench. Some lose it. You know, they're like, oh, my God, there's a lot of screaming going on. And if that bothers you, it's not a good environment for you.
Yeah.
But I really think that, one, it takes the kind of person that likes to think on their feet, that likes the troubleshooting aspect, that likes pressure. You know, some people perform better under pressure if they have pressure deadlines, and some people don't. Some people are better at, studio settings that are mild and comfortable and easy. And some people get off on it. They perform better if they're under pressure. And I just think that by osmosis, I've been both of those positions, I think that I perform better under pressure. So one, you have to work your way up to knowing what you're doing. You have to be really good at troubleshooting on the fly. You can't let things rattle you. You have to really think through solutions. And just keep your eye on the ball. I know that's a cliche, but you just have to keep your eye on the ball, Yeah. And the reality check, I had one guy say to me before I mixed my first really big show, and I was asked to do it as a fill-in, and I had no idea what I was getting into. But the guy said to me before I walked in, because he wouldn't do it, he said, there's a 50-50 chance that you'll crash and burn, which is not something that you want to hear when you're going to do something crazy.
Yeah.
But what you have to do is compartmentalize what you're doing. And if you think that there's 50 million people watching or listening to what you yourself is doing, that can take you out of actually what you're doing. I look at it like I'm mixing for right here, the best that I possibly can to make it sound the best that I possibly can. And at the end of the day, you want the smoothest show that you can with the least amount of technical problems that's visible to the outside world and hopefully to the inside world. And your goal is to make that happen. And for me, I just focus on what's right in front of me. And I don't think about how large the audience might be.
Yeah.
I think that can psych some people out.
Oh, yeah. It's, it's funny. I liken it to...
I took my Invisaligns out.
I liken it to that Matt Damon movie. Was it The Martian? Is that what it's called?
Very much so.
At the end of that, right? He gives that little speech in class, whatever, and he's like, basically, like, the whole world's on fire, your spacecraft is burning up and the whole thing, and you just have to start with the problem right in front of you and then go on to the next problem. Not all of them at once. And and that's kind of what I think is you're telling me that, and it's a different dynamic, I guess, than mixing a rock show.
Oh, very different.
There's more factors and more things going on coming at you, right?
There's more factors and more things coming at you. And I have done some front of house. I don't think I'm as good at front of house as somebody like Grace or anybody else that does it, because I think that those people, I think you fall into your comfort zone. I'm really comfortable in this chaos, believe it or not. And some of the front of house people that I know would never touch it. But there's some people that are better dialing in rooms.
Right.
And there's some of those front of house people that are much better dialing in rooms. But back when I actually did some of that, the art and the beauty of being able to mix the music was amazing. I can see why people do front of house and why you're creating art with the artist.
Yeah. And
you're making them sound the best that they can possibly sound. And I can see the hook in that. Well, what happens as an A1 is when you walk into the truck, I took Eric Zobler in a truck, who's a studio and a front of house mixer, does stuff with Kenny Loggins. But I didn't tell him anything. And I threw him in a truck. I wasn't mixing. I was actually working the field on this one. But I threw him in the truck with a really great A1. And for the hour before we go on the air, and I just wanted him to see what goes on. So basically what you have going on that's different than front of house is not only are you mixing the show and all of the elements that are coming from tape or the Elvis machines or all your other dings and dongs and whistles and sources that you are actually controlling, you have the producer. This is how I set mine up. I have a producer and one speaker up here. I have the director and another speaker over here. And the director, for me, has to cut through everything because I need to know where we're going. And then I have my KP panel on this particular truck where I'm listening to tape because I need to know when it's clear. We need to clear each other. You're listening to all of this at the same time that you're trying to mix a 5-1 or a stereo show or whatever it might be. And there's so much chaos going on that the mix is a small part of. I got my bulletproof. Thank you, Eric. it's a small part of what you're doing in there.
Yeah.
And he walked out going, you know, but you become really, really good at selective listening. And that's part of the charm of actually doing that, is that you're walking through fire and you're maybe it's like firemen. Why do they do what they do?
Right.
You know, they go right up on the front lines, but they know how to navigate the lines, and they know how to cut things, and they know how to divert and make the fire move in a different direction. You know, maybe that's what we're like. I don't know, but
now, are you in the same truck with the video switch? You know, those guys, the technical editors and all those guys, or is it a separate truck? So there's a lot going on.
Yeah, it's a separate truck now. They used to be all in the same truck, but there's so many operators now, and there's so many elements and so many tape ops. Yeah. But they call them tape ops, but it's you know, mostly done digital these days. But yeah, there's so much going on that they're usually in a separate truck.
So how many folks are in a truck with you?
Oh my God, it depends. It depends on what show and what you're doing. There could be as many as 10, 12 people or more in one truck, or less, you know. Sometimes they, you know, all the graphics are in one truck. It just depends on the size of the show. Okay. You know, but
that must be crazy.
But it's crazy, but audio is always in its own little control room. So you kind of in your own little bubble anyway, like you are everywhere else.
Right. But I guess that's the other difference with doing front of house, is that, yes, you're surrounded by, let's say, 150 screaming, you know, 150,000 screaming fans, 30,000 fans, whatever it is. But they're not yelling instructions they might be yelling instructions at you, right? But it's a little different. They're not all trying to get the show.
I can't hear the bass. The bass.
Right. Yeah. But in this case, you know, you're just surrounded by this cacophony of instruction, as you said. And someone else's stress who's 6 feet away from you. Yeah. Dealing with their thing.
Right. Well, the thing that's different too about sports, and it is still like this, is that's different than entertainment. You know, I'm not sure what Grace was doing on the Super Bowl, but I work for the networks. You know, it's going to be CBS, Fox, NFL, or Turner, or ESPN, or, you know, so we're actually doing the actual broadcast. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of periphery interfaces that are going on in these Super Bowls too. Like you know, we interface with the halftime production, which is a separate production. Right. Even though we're broadcasting it, it's coming from a separate truck. They're sending us feeds, but I forgot where I was going with this. We were talking about
just the craziness of stuff going on, and how many people are around you, as opposed to making front of house.
Well, the front of house, I think, it is that, you know, people are subjective with audio. I don't care who you are, even if you're a mixer, you know, audio is subjective. So one of the things that you do not have when you're in a truck, a production truck for sports, is that you don't have all those people yelling at you, telling you, I want more bass, or I couldn't hear the guitar solo where I was sitting, or, you know, so you're completely cut off from that. Oh, I know where I was going with this, was that there's so much that to compare to, is that in between sports and entertainment, though, in sports, the A1 still dials in their own comms. So comms is its own. It's its own career, really. Yeah. And you know, the A1s, if you're out doing NFL every weekend, the A1 is still dialing in those comms. So let's say something happens and the producer can't hear the AD, or the AD can't hear master control, or there's something that went wrong. You know, they'll go to the A1 and go, I can't hear, you know, and when things really go bad is when people can't hear each other in production. Right. You know, it's one thing that the broadcast goes well, but when things go wrong inside of the communication hub, you know, all hell breaks loose. But that's still on the A1, you know. So you add that to the cacophony of craziness, is that you know, on break you usually say, well, I'll get it on break, and you know, I can't do it right now, but on break I'll look at it, you know. But in entertainment, they broke that stuff out here, and And I know a lot of A1s, and it is certainly not a criticism by any stretch, because I think A1s need to be concentrating on mixing the show and not on comms. I've always felt that way.
Yep.
The good thing about being in sports is it made me learn comms, so I can do comms. But out here in entertainment, the mixers don't know comms. They won't touch comms, and they won't go near it, because they have a whole subset of people who are experts at that, and do it for them, which is actually, to me, the right way to do it. So, sports is still convoluted that way, that things are still tight, and I have seen things grow on the A1's plate that wasn't there, 25 years ago when we were doing analog. It's just a lot of stuff.
Yeah. What's your favorite parts of the show, of the whole thing, of that day? Is it 5 minutes before, 2 minutes before go time? Is it load out? Where are you?
Definitely not load out. I think.
Do you still get a rush about a minute out? 2 minutes out? Yeah.
I think at the start of the show is the most exciting part.
Yeah.
And I think and I try to equate it to taking off and landings of airplanes, except that the reality is that if things go south, no one dies. Right. You get to go home and see your family. You might not feel good, but no one dies. But getting that Zeppelin in the air is probably the most exciting thing. And then once you're on the air, you're just kind of gliding. You're trying to keep it all together. Yep. And then when you landing for sports could be the same way, because there is no set out a lot of times in sports. Right. You could be having overtime, and you just really need to pay attention and get that thing down as softly as possible. But ramping up is the most exciting part.
You've done this part of it for a long time, right? 25 years?
Yeah. 27, something like that. Yeah.
With what's going on right now and all these events getting canceled and the potential for California, is it California or LA that's talking about no concerts, no sporting events till 2021? Is it California in general or just LA?
Good question.
Okay.
I'm hearing.
No one knows what's going on right now anywhere, right? Top down. We just found out last night, Jeri, that you could inject yourself with Lysol or drink some Pine Sol, and you're going to be fine.
You know what? Isn't that a great fix? And you know what's going to happen? The sad part is that we're all going to run out of Lysol and Pine Sol now, so we can't wipe our counters. But you know what? We'll eradicate this disease, and everything's going to be great.
Yeah.
And then we'll have big concerts, and you know what? People will be taking it with them, and they'll be injecting at concerts. You know what? The people are going to be shaken down. You watch.
They'll be shooting up at concerts.
They'll be shooting up, man.
Before the show, you used to sit out in the parking lot doing balloon hits or whippets. Now we're doing Lysol shots.
Now look what you've done.
Oh my God.
Yeah, alcohol will be next. But anyway, that's a really good question, because I'm hearing this all over the board. I'm hearing that they might be doing, and this is hearsay, this is not coming from CBS or Fox. This is from different colleagues, and even out there, you can hear it even in mainstream media right now. They're trying to figure out what to do. They've even been talking about possibly doing Major League Baseball in just one set stadium, or two set stadiums, and having all the teams just go to those with no audience. And right before this came down with the NBA, I think they were talking about just doing NBA with no audiences, but we still got the teams traveling from place to place. So I think they're trying to figure that out.
Right. Weren't they going to do March Madness? Weren't they going to do that with no audience, and then they just finally scrapped it?
I guess I don't do March Madness. A lot of my friends do that every year. They do a lot of big ACC brackets, but I don't do those. I've never done the college ACC brackets before. Well, actually, I did the NCAA years and years ago, but I don't know because I'm not in that side of it.
Yeah.
But I don't really know. And I've been actually keeping my hand in two different places right now. I mean, last year I did an eSports thing, which in fact wouldn't change a lot of this, except if they do the eSports in front of an audience. So, what are they doing right now? I don't really know.
Yeah. How does it, do you get caught in the worry of it? Are you okay day to day? Are you like, you know what? I mean, you said at the top of this, I'm really enjoying waking up when I wake up, taking the dog out, having my coffee, getting a little more back to earth.
Right.
If things ramp back up, will you be able to retain some of that back to earthness? Bring a little bit more of that sort of calming aspect to what you do you think? Or do you think overall we're just going to bounce back and, the walks with the family will become another thing of the past, or what?
I think we have a tendency to forget where we are right now.
Yeah.
And I think when it's just like when you get a call and you have to get on a plane and before you know it, you're in a different environment, you just lock into that environment. I think we forget a lot of things quickly, including, this mess. I said, if things go back to normal, I think we'll probably lock back into going back to normal.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting about your question about my worrying is for the past year, I can't really announce it, but maybe when I can announce it, I'll come back to you and we can do it. But for the past year, but particularly for the past 6 months, have been working on another business that marries the music side. I start on the music side of this, and with the broadcast side, and I formed a partnership with a company out of New York, and I'm really excited about this. So a lot of my focus has not been so much on the road. And fortunately, what I've done over the years is I usually squirrel my money away because I always take my summers off. I don't do Major League Baseball in the summer. I only would do spring training, mainly because I don't want to work all the way through. I want to work on music projects in the summertime. And then NFL kicks up in August and runs through January, and it overlaps with NBA and overlaps with NHL, and then that overlaps with Major League Baseball. So if you do sports, you can kind of be, and forget NASCAR because that's where I started. NASCAR is like 42 weeks a year, and you're gone the entire week basically. So I've tried to slow things down over the years and start to pick and choose the kind of sports I want to work in, and then squirrel the money away for the slow times, which I know is coming because it always does, and not panic during that time and work on other things. So fortunately for me, for the past year, I've only been out on the road a handful of times than having to put all of my eggs in that basket. Mm-hmm. So I'm actually floating pretty good. I know a lot of my colleagues are freaking out because that's 100% of their income.
Yep.
I think I'm in a pretty lucky position that I don't have to worry about that right now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's been 2 or 3 audio people that have gotten this thing.
Yeah.
So that concerns me because you're wiring up those locker rooms and those conference rooms, and you're miking up the players and the talent, and you're right in people's faces. And so I don't know how that's going to change that dynamic going forward. It's scary.
Yeah.
It's really a scary time.
I guess that's the other thing too, is when you think about going back to work, forget the airplane, forget the airport and all, the travel part. But how do you feel about being back in a trailer with 12 people potentially in a pretty close spot?
That's probably that trailer and that production truck's probably safer than that arena of 20,000, 40,000, 30,000 people. I mean, I think a lot of when this was coming down, I was calling, Anthony over at the Lakers, and I was like, what's going on over there? I don't do the Lakers, but I've known Anthony for years. And he's like, I don't know. He goes, I don't know. Right now, everything's cool. And then the next day it was different. And I got a text and he's like, you know what? They just canceled the NBA. They canceled the whole season. So, how does that affect him?
Right.
Or any of those people that have those, what I call packages for the whole year. That's through April for these people.
Right.
So I don't know. It's made me feel differently about going back into that environment for me, but I've already been morphing into something else. Mm-hmm. So, and I do that, less and less.
Yep.
So I don't know. Maybe it's just for me. Maybe it's time to really focus on this business model. I really wish I could tell you about it. I can give you little snippets about it. I can tell you that I've teamed up with a crew of composers out of New York, and we got some slammin' TV stuff coming. That's all I got to say.
All right.
It's already been happening. So
nice.
The sad part is that we were going to roll this thing out at the end of February, the 1st of March, this business, and do this big, hey, this is, a PR campaign. This is what we're doing. And that all,
Yeah.
Everything had to just pull back. And I don't know that this is the right time to go, yay, come cheerleading out of the gate and go, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
But this is what we're doing.
Awesome.
We're focusing on that. And I can't wait to come back and tell you about it, actually.
I can't wait to have you back to tell me about it.
It's really exciting.
Cool. Good. All right. Well, you let me know, man.
Okay.
As we mentioned, we met at the NAMM show. God, could you imagine rolling off a NAMM and having this thing happen? I mean, Summer NAMM got canceled. I was all psyched to go to my first Summer NAMM. But, jeez, I mean, this wasn't that far before.
You know what, Larry?
No.
I'm going to go there. I read an article last night about CES. I'll have to say this is all fresh. You and I are just talking straight off the press, right?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about NAMM, and I'm going, oh my gosh, well, there was this big article yesterday that just came out yesterday about CES, that they think that CES could have been one of the hubs that started this virus thing because, again, huge international. But a lot of Silicon Valley people were there, and a lot of this started in Santa Clara County.
Right.
So they're looking at that and going, is it the whole contact tracing thing? But I think about NAMM. We joke about NAMthrax every year. I luckily didn't get it this year. But what Petri dishes are these things?
Crazy.
I mean, there's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people from all over the world that are there.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't help but think too, like, all right, let's get, we're going to get through this thing. It's going to be the fall. And then these things will slowly start ramping up again to try to attract people. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy. But I don't want to dwell on all this stuff because everyone deals with the COVID every day. And we don't need to take them down. But I'm going to ask you this about NAMM. This is where I was going with the NAMM question. You were there doing the live mentoring session for Sound Girls.
Yeah.
And I want to know, Jeri, why it's important to you to do those types of things to help that younger generation.
Oh, my gosh.
And who was there for you when you started out?
Oh, there not many were there for me. That's why I want to do it for others. The broadcast world's a little bit different, I think, than the concert and the music arena type of environments. I'm seeing it really change there. I think girls were looked upon as inferior or couldn't be technical or didn't, and it's still like that. That's a big reason why I want to go out there. But there were not a lot of inroads and internships and opportunities to learn. I mean, I kind of had to knock on a lot of doors and ask to come in and intern for free sometimes just to learn things because I was switching careers. I came from an IT world. I was from this world originally and then got a responsible gig, doing a lot troubleshooting for LAN systems and Microsoft and stuff. And then I was like, no, I got to go back. But when you're changing careers, you really need somebody that sees the passion that you have for it and embrace it. Because if you have passion for something, more than likely you're going to excel and you're going to be an employee that you can rely on. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I have found that there's a lot of the opposite, a lot of pushback, a lot of don't share information, don't tell them anything. I'm actually seeing it worse right now in the broadcast environment than I've ever seen it. But I'm seeing it better in the sound company, they're very much embracing this and taking people under their wings. But I've never been selfish. I've always shared my information with people, even when I was coming up through the ranks. I'm like, if you can go home and do your own Super Bowl, more power to you. I'm going to show you everything I know. If you can step up and do it, there's so much work out there. There's plenty of work for everybody. Yeah. If you can step up and do it, do it. Because to me, there's nothing better than to help somebody and see them grow and they become better than you are.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't understand the selfishness. I think on the broadcast side, I think it pays well. You know, it pays really well. And I think that people find it exciting to be in sports. Mm-hmm. And I think there's an awful lot of volleying for position that I don't think is necessary to be doing that.
Yep.
But so I find for today's youngsters coming up that I think that environment's actually a little harder. But in this environment, I think it's really important to just embrace anybody that's willing to learn in the music environment that is. And I'm really seeing great inroads from Sound Girls and Terry Winston and Carrie and everyone that's actually put it in Sennheiser and Harman and Electrosonics. I don't want to leave anybody out.
Yeah.
Forgive me if everybody is on board with training, you know, in getting people up to speed so that they can be the best that they can be. I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah.
You know, anytime they ask me to do something and I'm available, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got a question, I'm here. It's like, you know, maybe we can avoid some of the pitfalls that we all ran into.
Sure.
You know,
it must be pretty amazing for you, having been in this for such a long time, to now see this proliferation of groups like Sound Girls, Women's Audio Mission, and all these things, right? That are coming along, that are out there. These amazing resources for women.
They're amazing resources for women, but they're also amazing resources in general. Yeah. I see a lot of men, and I know this has been a controversial thing, but I've seen a lot of men follow the Sound Girls thing as well, because there's a lot of great information out there and there's a lot of great training.
Yeah.
And I think this is where I come from. You know, I have certainly been the subject of sexism or the peer group making sure I don't get the tools that I need, or making sure that I don't have the information that I need, and making sure that I trip and fall, and making sure that they go to my superiors and go, see, I told you she didn't know what she was doing. You know, this happens, and it happens a lot, you know, but to be able to reverse that and be able to see other people not having to deal with that, to me, is just wonderful. It is still out there. Don't get me wrong. It's still out there. But we're all equal.
Right, exactly. But at the end of the day, a good mix is a good mix is a good mix, right?
That's right.
Whether you're 50-year veteran male or female, if your mix sucks, you suck. But you also strike me as the kind of person, Jeri, your personality seems to be the kind of person that if somebody shorts you, you just kind of keep your head down and figure it out on your own. You know what I mean? You get the job done regardless.
Yes, you have to.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to. Thank you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you have to, because it's about the job. It's not about you. Mm-hmm. And what I have found with a lot of these peer groups that do this is that, and I have this thing that I say about cliques, and I know everyone's been in them, and I know everyone's had them, and I know everyone's been around them. But when you're dealing with a show and you're dealing with production, you're one team. You are one hive. That those bees that cluster over here are taken away from your show. Mm-hmm. They're making it about them, and they're making it about what they want. And if they're making sure that other aspects of that production don't have what they need to make that show happen, they need to go. You know, mm-hmm. Because they're taken away from making the show happen.
Yeah.
It's not about them and what they want. It's about what can we do together to make this, to pull this impossible Zeppelin, you know, off the ground and into the air. That's the most important thing. And it's really important to have your trust of your colleagues and a family atmosphere where you have each other's backs.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? With this bus throwing thing, even when I'm in a supervisory position, I don't let that. I won't let them do that.
Yeah.
It's like this. We don't play that here.
Yeah.
You know,
Good.
if you're under somebody else, you don't have any control over that. But if I'm the supervisor on the gig, that's not going to happen on my show.
Yeah. Good. I'm curious. I'm wondering if you can explain to me a little bit about how this works or what you've seen, or does it work differently in broadcast, I guess, or, with the networks in terms of, as opposed to in live sound that we're seeing right now with concerts being canceled, right? Like all these crew members that are dealing with, no work and that sort of, and like, that's it. They're gig to gig. Is it the same sort of a thing so like if the NBA is canceled, that's it. They're out of work too. And if that is the case, because you're shaking your head, so it is, right? We're seeing companies like Live Nation put forth the Crew Nation thing to support, touring professionals around the world. And, Music Cares, a bunch of other things. Is that happening on the sports side with companies as well?
Well,
what is the mechanism that would do that over there?
I can only speak for what I have seen because I wasn't booked because I'm working on this new business venture for the past 3 months. All I know is that my colleagues have told me, like some of the Fox employees and some of the people that had things booked through April, let's say the 30 days out from when everything got shut down, some of those companies were paying the crews all the way for the next 30 days, which is great. So whatever gigs were on the books at that time, they were paying it. Some were, some weren't. So it's like companies. It varies from company to company. What's going on after that, I don't know.
Okay. And
I worry about that because when you have a whole year's package, that's everything. It's like, what do you do? In some ways, I feel blessed and lucky that I've diverted some of my attention in other areas right now that hasn't relied on that. But I'm mortified for my friends and colleagues now.
Sure.
Because I've been there and I cannot only imagine if your entire year goes away, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah. It's this issue is also not. It's not sort of a new issue because tours get canceled, artists get sick, whatever it is, a festival gets canceled. Someone pointed out to me, reminded me that last year was the 50th for the Woodstock Festival, right? All those artists still got Jay-Z still got his money, still got his deposit, and they canceled the festival, but none of the crew got paid.
Wow.
Things like that. So when those things happen, I guess my point is this weakness in the industry has been there. I'm wondering though, I'm hoping that maybe this whole thing now has shown a bit more of a light on it and how it works. And particularly with music, I guess people have an opportunity to step up. A lot of bands are saying, buy our merch and all of that money goes to pay our crew. Right,
which is an awesome idea.
Cool. Yeah.
Or buy our CDs or buy it's even with the post office. They're pushing buying stamps. It's like whatever. They're pushing whatever medium that there is monetarily to bring something in. I don't know on the broadcast side. They make a lot of their money from advertising.
Right.
And then it trickles down from there. And but we're the little guys and we're suffering. And I look and yes, they make millions and bazillions of dollars, but this thing's trickling down from the teams too. Their players aren't getting played. Yep. They're not getting their revenues into to the Staples Center or wherever they might be. Mm-hmm. They're not getting. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So where's their money going to come from? Do they have stats? Yeah. So they're making gazillions of dollars when they're operating. Do they have enough money to pay everybody all the way down the line for the following year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's really it's a problem. And this is just really exposing, and we're not the only nation dealing with this. I know the whole world is, but it's really just exposing a lot of things that I think in the long run, these kinds of things that happen, we come out learning stuff and we come out going, we're going to do things differently from now on. And I think that that's what's going to happen from this.
Yeah, I hope so.
you know.
So. Yep. You come from an incredible long line of musicians in your family. Great grandfather, right?
Great grandfather played. Grandmother and all of her sisters played. Mother played.
Where are you guys from originally?
I grew up in West Virginia, but I was born in Cleveland.
Okay.
So, city, country, married city, country. I'm probably a little bit more city now, but my grandfather was a minister and he made violins for a living and he sold violins, but all of his daughters were multi-instrumentalists. I mean, insane players, not just, they violin and guitars and piano, because back then there was no entertainment, but right. They were amazing musicians. So I was surrounded by it growing up and got to learn from these people, the guitar and the piano. But my mom was an amazing jazz player as well. So I just kind of grew up in a really rich musical environment that came reasonably easy to me as a child because I was completely immersed in it.
Yeah.
But I, as a child, would learn Beatles songs as a preschooler. I would learn to play like Good Day Sunshine, and I would learn to play these songs, and then to surprise my grandparents, and my mother and family friends. I was like, wow, I wonder if I could pull it. And I would learn to play it for real. And then they'd come in and I'd go, I got it, this song, I'm gonna play. And I would sit down and I'd play Good Day Sunshine along with the record. And I'd be like 4. And they would be going, how did she learn to do that?
Wow.
But I just had good ears. And my childhood, all the way up to about 18, that's all I did was play. Wow. And screw around with a bunch of tape recorders. So this is where all the audio, it has been ingrained in my life, my whole life, because we always had recorders and we're always screwing around with taping things. I still have all those tapes, actually.
Dude, that's amazing.
You know what? It would be so incriminating, but I have tapes where I would take my next door neighbor and I would teach him to cuss, and I would bring him over and I'd go, say E. Say E, and I would record it, and then when I pop the tabs out, because what we had cassettes, and I would put them in a cigar box.
Wow.
In the cigar boxes, and I would date them, and I would never tape over them. I don't know why, but I have this whole stack of my entire childhood of just interview, like when the Apollo took off, and just fake kitty interviews with people and playing stuff and little baby bands that I put together with the neighborhood kids, and it would be horribly incriminating to a lot of people.
I love that. I love that.
But I have them.
The old neighborhood would come get you. With all those women being so talented in your family, were they professional musicians? Was it?
Yes.
Oh, they were. Okay. So it wasn't like it was frowned upon. It's like, oh no, it's great that you can play. Isn't that lovely? But you're not, we're not going to expect you to go and play professionally. It wasn't that. It was, they were pros and they were out doing it. So you had models.
I had models, and people didn't look at that strangely. It's kind of funny because when my great aunts and there were 4 sisters. When my great aunts and my grandmother were in their 80s, they were hired to come open a bank in Charleston to come play. They were all in these red dresses, and I went in there and just slayed it. Wow. I mean, so did they go out and play all the time professionally like that? Mm-hmm. Not like my mother. My mom had a steady gig in a place in Lewisburg, West Virginia. It was called the Fort Savannah Inn at the time. But she would play dinner music there and every night for like 27 years. Wow. So she played all the time. But it was just like, the women slayed it from a musician standpoint. Now, my dad, God rest his soul, he's not with us right now. My brother might be listening to this and he might not agree. But my dad was a folk player. But my dad my mother had natural talent. Everything came easy to her. And my dad had to struggle a little bit. He had to work a little harder to get that, folk thing, and they would do gigs together, and he would get so frustrated because he had to really work at it,
Yeah.
But he ended up being a really good player too. But I think sometimes that little competition between my mother and father and the frustration, because she would just go, she wouldn't even practice, and she would go and slay something. And let me tell you something about my mom that you don't know is my mom was wickedly funny. And she one day started with this alfalfa language. She would go, well, how the hell thou art are you there, Lil Fairy? How the hell thou art are you? And I was like, where did that come from? And she was like, oh, she ran into a childhood friend that spoke this alfalfa language. So at this time I had moved to Charlotte, and I was like, oh, no. I got the perfect gig for you. So I had her call John Boy and Billy. You know John Boy and Billy's show out of Charlotte? It's a syndicated. It's all up and down the East Coast.
Okay.
And they would have this time where you would call in, and I said, you've got to call in and speak alfalfa to him as if it's your native language, and don't break it. And she finally got in and started talking to them, and they're like, what the hell? What? Is this woman for real? Because he didn't know she was for real. You know what? They ended up giving her a slot.
Are you serious?
Her own hotline. So she would be a call-in once in a while. So she did 'Twas the Night Before Christmas in alfalfa. So my mom ends up having this whole separate thing going on. Like, she's in her 70s, and she's got this whole thing going on with John Boy and Billy. So they invite her down for a NASCAR, like one of the NASCAR events, live. And there's like 100,000 people at this live event. They're like, Maxine, come on down, because they all know her as the alfalfa lady. Well, she shows up with her accordion. And they're like, Maxine, will you play something? She's like, absolutely. So she's walking around backstage getting Rusty Wallace's, autograph and all these players and pictures with all these players. I'm like, Mom, do you know what you're going to play? And she's like, I don't have a clue. I'm like, don't you think you should think about it? She's like, I'll think about it when I get up there. And she got up there with this accordion, and she slayed Roll Out the Barrel.
Wow.
Da, 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 da. So that's what I was around. I was around.
Wow. Right. Well, again, thriving in a little bit of chaos.
Thriving in chaos.
Going with the moment, keeping your head clear, right? I mean, there's a theme here, Jeri.
There's a theme. There might be some genetics there, but I do prepare a little bit more than she does. I like to at least know what I'm going in for. But she would fly by the seat of her pants, and she would be fine.
Well, that's the jazz musician in her, right?
That's the jazz. It's like, okay, I'm still too pent up to do that a little bit,
Let me ask what you learned by watching her as a working jazz musician, going to work every night, playing.
Honestly, I learned that it was more about the passion than it was about the money, and I think that's true for all musicians. If she were in a different place than where we were, if she were in a city, she might have been raking in some cash. But she'd be a break-even kind of thing from a working musician. So I learned that she was really just following her passion. It was all about the music to her and sharing that music with people and doing what she just did. She's making people happy. That was more important to her than the income, because it wasn't there, especially for jazz, and especially in an area like that, where the people don't really get it. Right. As far as jazz, but they loved her, so that's what I learned, is that sometimes you need to follow your passion. And it's not always about the money.
Yep. You went off to Juilliard.
I did.
And as a musician, that's what you were going to do, right?
Well, I have to back up, and I was a really good arranger in high school. My high school band director, Russ Bush, changed my life because he saw I was really good at theory, and he saw I had a knack for that. I was an okay player. I played trumpet, And then I got braces, and it blew my trumpet career, and I went to baritone because it was the same. And I was just okay because I didn't like the instrument, but I was a really good player, piano. And I loved to arrange. So he kind of took me under his wing and really nourished and nurtured that arranging aspect of me, which I did have in me. I didn't realize. And my this is crazy. This is chaos. Maybe we do have a theme here, but he was like, I want you to come up with an arrangement and pick a song to arrange, and I'll have our jazz band play it. So I picked Earth, Wind and Fire's Getaway. It's like, make the mountain as steep and as horrific as you could possibly make it, and nearly impossible to get, and go for it, and put all that stress on you. Sorry about that.
That's
I've got
all right.
fun right over here. Let me kill it. But anyway, sorry about that.
It's happening. Work's
But
coming.
but anyway, yeah. So I ended up, by the grace of God, pulling that song out of wherever, and I heard it for the first time because back then you don't have synthesizers. You had to play and chart it out and hope for the best, and you don't know until you hear it, and then that's horrifying and terrifying and exciting at the same time, and then you have to change things. Excuse me, on the fly, but that really was the crux that got me into school. If we're going to go to a pinnacle of what really changed my life, it was that right there, But so I got into Juilliard off of the orchestration strengths, and I was an okay player, but I was not a performance player like the people that you're going to expect to come out of Juilliard. I play okay. I'd probably be that performance player if I practiced, but I got into that school because of my orchestration skills.
Yeah. Did it help set you on the path going to Juilliard, being in an environment like that?
It did. It was a very structured environment. There were some things there that, again, life-changing. Like one of the instructors pulled me aside. This was in composition class, and he was like, if you stay on this path, this is composition, this is not orchestration. He says, I want you to study with, I think it was Elliot Carter. And when he pulled me aside and told me that, even though that's not the direction I wanted to go into, when somebody sees something in you and they believe in you and they pull you aside and say, I think you're great and you have the potential to be great, that's really all I needed, Larry.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I said, this is somebody who has credentials, who thinks that I have potential. And your friends are great supporters and your family are great supporters, but sometimes your family says, no, don't do that, maybe because of the money. Or they try to say, no, you're no good at this or whatever, to try to persuade you to do other things.
Yeah, they got their own agenda.
They've got their own agenda. This guy, I was like, who am I going to believe? And I had to make a decision. I was like, if I'm ever going to be successful, I need to listen to the people who are the experts and not the people who are around me, the Debbie Doubters. And that really, really, truly changed how I think about things. I was like, I need to surround myself with people who know what they're doing. I need to step up and learn. And then I need to take the direction from the professionals and the people who are experts. And I need to not listen to the people who do not know what they're talking about, because they can pull you out of that. Because I had a lot of doubt. You're a teenager and you don't know what you're doing and where you're going. And so he changed my life too. And to the point that I felt that I could make a career out of the music side.
Right.
So yeah, I ended up getting a gig as an arranger for an indie artist. And then that
was it.
I got into that studio with these charts and saw a Fairlight and sat with the engineer for 6 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and
the rest is history.
the rest is, I guess, history. It's pivoting again. So it's like, you just kind of go with where the river takes you.
Where do you think you got that strength and confidence in that moment, in that time, to say, okay, I'm going to go with what this guy's saying?
From him. You know what?
Just by having that.
This was a guy who was a professor at Juilliard who had a long history of success. And he pulled me aside and thought enough of me to tell me how he felt about me. And that was really all it took. It was an aha moment for me. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy really believes in me. And he's credible. He's got credentials. That's the other thing that changed for me, is that, there's a lot of hype out there and people hype all the time. But to me, credibility is everything. Don't bullshit your way through stuff. If you don't know something, say it. If you need help with something, say it. But credibility is everything, and he had that. So I believed in him more than I did around the people that were around me, because he had credibility.
It's awesome. It sounds like you've had early on family that supported you, and you had these, teachers, professors, mentors, whatever you want to call them, who also picked that out and gave you just enough of an injection to give you the gumption to go for your thing.
Yes.
Good stuff.
And it's why it's important to maybe be that for somebody else. Yeah. It's just have a little bit of heart and look into their eyes and read the passion that they have. These kids and these people are not coming to, you know what I mean?
I do. Yep. I do. Good. Jeri, you're awesome, man. I wish I could give you a virtual elbow bump or a hug.
Wait, right here. We could do it.
Yeah, right. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me onto this wonderful show.
Absolutely. And I want you to come back. I want you to stay in touch. I want you to tell me what's going to happen when you're announcing this amazing thing.
I'm really excited. I'd love to come back and do it.
Good. Please, please do. You hang on and take it easy out there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Larry. I'll talk to you soon.
Jeri Palumbo, thank you for doing the show. That's it, folks. That's what I got this week. We will see you next week for episode 170. My guest is guitarist Steph Paines from Led Zeppelin. You got to come by and listen to that one. You can follow us during the week at Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify, all as Roadie Free Radio. Check out the website, people, roadiefreeradio.com, and send me a note because I want to hear from you. That's info@roadiefreeradio.com. And my friends, in the meantime, keep your masks on, keep your 6-foot social distance, and y'all be safe out there. No roadies, no rock and roll.